I spent 29 years being my family's punching bag, blamed for everything while my perfect sister Amanda got away with murder. Then our grandmother died and left me $7 million. My family called me a manipulator, a liar. They said I'd tricked a senile old woman. But what they didn't know was that Grandma Rose had left me something far more valuable than money: 15 journals documenting every lie, every theft, every cruel thing Amanda had done for nearly a decade. By the time I was done, my golden child sister was facing prison, and my parents had lost everything. And honestly, they deserved every second of it. Before we go on, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Lily, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the problem child. Not because I caused problems. I'm a 29-year-old elementary school teacher who pays my bills on time and has never even gotten a speeding ticket. No, I'm the problem because my family decided I was, and once that label stuck, there was no shaking it off. It was a Sunday evening, about 3 months before everything changed, and I was sitting in my car outside my parents' house trying to calm my breathing. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. This happened every single week before family dinner. The anxiety, the tightness in my chest, the voice in my head running through everything I might do wrong. Would I say the wrong thing? Wear the wrong outfit? Bring the wrong dish? With my family, there was always something. I'd made my grandmother's apple pie recipe, the one she'd taught me when I was 12. It had taken me 3 hours that afternoon, carefully slicing apples, mixing the perfect crust. I kept thinking maybe this time, maybe if I just tried hard enough, Mom would smile at me the way she smiled at Amanda. I walked in carrying the pie, and immediately my mother's eyes went to it. Not to me, to the pie. "Oh, Lily," she sighed, and I already knew what was coming. "Apple pie? I specifically said we were having a light dinner tonight." "That's far too sweet. You never listen." "I'm sorry," I said automatically, the words so practiced they came out like a reflex. "I thought that's your problem," my father called from the living room without even looking up from his newspaper. "You don't think?" I set the pie on the counter, my face burning, and that's when Amanda breezed in. 45 minutes late, wearing a designer dress I knew cost more than my monthly rent, her perfectly highlighted hair catching the light just right. My mother's entire face transformed. "Amanda. Oh honey, you look absolutely stunning. Come here, let me hug you." I stood there holding a serving spoon, invisible, while my mother fussed over my 32-year-old sister like she was a celebrity who'd graced us with her presence. My father actually got up from his chair to kiss her cheek. Amanda caught my eye over Mom's shoulder and smirked. Just a tiny lift of her lips that said everything: "I win, you lose, like always." Dinner was the usual nightmare. We sat around the expensive dining table in my parents' pristine house, the house my father built with his successful commercial real estate business, and I tried to make myself as small as possible. Amanda sat across from me, glowing in the candlelight, holding court while everyone hung on her every word. "The business had a rough quarter," my father said, cutting into his steak. His voice had that edge it got when he was stressed about money. "Some of the decisions we made just didn't pan out." Amanda laughed, this light, musical sound. "Well, at least I'm not the one who suggested that disastrous marketing campaign that lost us the Henderson account." Everyone chuckled. Actually chuckled. My stomach dropped because that was a lie. That campaign wasn't my idea, it was Amanda's. I'd been there when she pitched it to Dad, all confident and assured. When it failed, she'd somehow convinced everyone it was my suggestion from months earlier. "Actually," I said quietly, "that was Lily." "Please," my father cut me off, not even making eye contact. "Don't make excuses. Just once, could you take responsibility for your mistakes?" I felt the familiar sting behind my eyes, the tightness in my throat. "I am responsible. I just meant this is exactly what I'm talking about," Amanda said, shaking her head with this pitying expression. "Always rewriting history to make yourself look better. It's exhausting." I looked around the table. My mother was nodding. My father looked disappointed. My aunt and uncle, who'd been invited that night, were exchanging glances that said, "Poor Amanda, having to deal with such a difficult sister." I swallowed the words I wanted to say. I nodded. I apologized for something I didn't do. And deep down, that voice that had been growing louder for years whispered, maybe they're right. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I do remember things wrong. The worst part? I actually believed it. After dinner, I escaped to the bathroom and had a panic attack in silence, one hand pressed over my mouth so no one would hear me crying. When I came out 20 minutes later with red eyes, Amanda was standing in the hallway. "You okay?" she asked, and for a second, she almost sounded genuine. "Yeah, I lied. Just tired." She smiled, squeezed my shoulder, and said, "You know, if you weren't so sensitive, these dinners would be a lot easier for everyone." Then she walked away, leaving me standing there wondering if she was right. I didn't know it then, but someone had been watching these dinners very carefully. Someone who'd been quietly documenting every lie, every manipulation, every moment I was gaslit into doubting my own reality. My grandmother Rose had been taking notes, and she'd been planning something that would blow my family apart. But that night, driving home with tears streaming down my face, I genuinely believed I was the broken one. I pulled over twice because I couldn't see the road. When I finally made it to my tiny apartment, I called my best friend Emma. "They're not trying to hurt me," I told her, repeating the lie I'd been telling myself for years. "Amanda's just confident, and I'm too sensitive. Maybe I do need to be more like her." "Lily," Emma said carefully, like she'd said 100 times before, "your family is toxic. You're making excuses for people who treat you like garbage." "They're my family," I whispered. "Where else do I belong?" I hung up and sat in the dark, journaling obsessively like I always did, trying to keep track of what actually happened versus what my family would later claim happened. The list of incidents was pages long. The car Amanda dented and blamed on me. The birthday they forgot. The job I quit that Amanda told everyone I was fired from. The credit card charges to my account that mysteriously appeared after Amanda borrowed my wallet. I was 29 years old, and I couldn't trust my own memories anymore because my family had spent my entire life telling me I was wrong. That's when my phone rang. It was my mother, her voice cold and clipped. "Your grandmother is in the hospital. Heart attack. You should come." Click. She hung up before I could even respond. I grabbed my keys with shaking hands and rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding. Grandma Rose was the only person in my family who'd ever made me feel seen, who'd been visiting me every week for months just to have tea and talk. She was my one safe person. I didn't know that night would change everything. I didn't know that Grandma Rose had been planning something extraordinary. I didn't know that in a few weeks, I'd be sitting in a lawyer's office learning I'd inherited $7 million while my perfect sister got a pearl necklace. All I knew was that I was terrified of losing the only person who'd ever truly loved me. And I had no idea that she'd already made sure I'd never be anyone's scapegoat again. 3 days later, I stood in the hospital room holding Grandma Rose's hand as she took her last breath. It was peaceful. She just closed her eyes and was gone. I stayed there for 20 minutes after, crying silently, before I finally called my parents. My mother answered on the 4th ring. "She's gone," I said. "We'll handle the arrangements," she replied, and hung up. That was it. No comfort, no acknowledgement that I'd just lost someone I loved. Just cold efficiency. The funeral was worse than I'd imagined. I arrived early, hoping for a moment alone with the casket, but Amanda was already there, dramatically draped over it, sobbing loudly enough for the gathering crowd to hear. My parents stood on either side of her, my mother rubbing her back, my father looking stoic and devastated. I approached quietly, and my father glanced at me with barely concealed annoyance, like I was interrupting a private moment. At my own grandmother's funeral. Throughout the service, I sat alone in the 3rd row while Amanda held court in the 1st, surrounded by relatives offering condolences. I watched person after person approach her. "She loved you so much," Amanda and Carol said, hugging her tight. "Rose always bragged about you," Uncle Tom added. "Such a successful career, such a beautiful granddaughter." My cousin Jake patted Amanda's shoulder. "I'm sure she left you well taken care of. She knew you'd honor her legacy." My mother kept saying to anyone who'd listen, "Rose always worried about Amanda having financial security. She understood that Amanda needed support to maintain her lifestyle." I grieved alone in the corner, invisible as always. My one ally in the world was gone, and my family couldn't even pretend to care that I was hurting. I cried silently into a tissue, and not a single person came to check on me. The will reading was scheduled for the following week. I almost didn't go. What was the point? Grandma Rose had probably left me some small keepsake, maybe her recipe box or a photo album. Amanda would get the real inheritance, and my parents would finally have proof of what they'd always believed, that Amanda was the worthy one. But I went anyway, because it felt like the last connection to the only person who'd ever really seen me. We gathered in Mr. Chen's office, a sleek downtown law firm with mahogany furniture and intimidating bookshelves. Amanda was dressed immaculately, looking confident and composed. My parents sat on either side of her like bodyguards. Various aunts, uncles, and cousins filled the remaining chairs. I sat in the back corner as usual. Mr. Chen, a kind-looking man in his 60s, opened a folder and began reading. Small bequests first $5,000 to the local library, her china set to Aunt Carol, some jewelry pieces to various cousins. Everyone nodded politely, waiting for the real announcement. Then to my granddaughter Amanda, I leave my pearl necklace, and my hope that she finds the strength to face her demons. The room went quiet for a moment. Amanda's smile faltered slightly, but she recovered. That's lovely. The pearls are beautiful. She glanced around. And the rest? Mr. Chen looked directly at me. To my granddaughter Lily, I leave the entirety of my estate, including but not limited to my home at 847 Maple Drive, valued at approximately $1.2 million, my investment portfolio, valued at approximately $3.5 million, my 30% ownership stake in Morrison Real Estate Holdings, valued at approximately $2 million, my jewelry collection, excluding the pearl necklace, my art collection, and all remaining assets. He paused. The total estate is valued at approximately $7 million. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. $7 million? The house? 30% of Dad's company? The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds before it exploded. What? Amanda's voice was shrill, her face going from pale to bright red. That's impossible. There has to be a mistake. My father stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly. This is absurd. My mother would never. She was clearly not in her right mind, my mother said, her voice shaking with rage. This will cannot be valid. Amanda turned on me, and I'd never seen such hatred in her eyes. You manipulated her. Oh my God, you manipulated a dying old woman. How could you? I didn't. I started, but my voice came out as a whisper. I didn't know, liar. Amanda screamed. You isolated her. You poisoned her against me. Mr. Chen raised his hand. Mrs. Rose Morrison underwent a full psychological evaluation 6 months ago at her own request. 2 independent doctors certified her as completely lucid and of sound mind. This will is legally ironclad. My father stepped toward me, his face twisted with anger. You conniving, manipulative Mr. Morrison, Mr. Chen said sharply. I would advise you to be very careful about what you say next. My mother's voice was ice. We'll be contesting this. You can absolutely count on that. Mrs. Rose anticipated that possibility, Mr. Chen said calmly. He pulled out another envelope. She left a letter to be read in the event of a contest. He began reading to my family. If you're hearing this, it means you've questioned my decision regarding my estate. Let me be absolutely clear, I was not senile. I was not manipulated. I was not confused. I simply opened my eyes to the truth of who my granddaughters really are, and I made my choice accordingly. I watched, I documented, and I decided. Lily earned every penny of this inheritance by enduring decades of cruelty with grace. Amanda, stop, my mother shouted. We don't need to hear this character assassination. We're leaving, my father announced. Lily, you'll be hearing from our lawyers. This isn't over. They stormed out, Amanda sobbing dramatically, my mother's arm around her. Half the relatives followed them, shooting me disgusted looks. And Carol hesitated, looking confused, but Uncle Tom pulled her along. I sat frozen in my chair, trembling, unable to process what had just happened. Mr. Chen waited until the room cleared, then sat down across from me. Are you all right, Ms. Morrison? I don't understand, I whispered. Why would she? I never asked for this. Your grandmother loved you very much, he said gently. And she was far more observant than your family gave her credit for. I drove home in a daze. By the time I got to my apartment, my phone was exploding. 17 missed calls. 43 text messages. Amanda, how could you do this to me? I thought you loved Grandma. You're disgusting. My mother, you're dead to me. You manipulated a sick, dying woman for money. I hope you're proud of yourself. My father, we're freezing all your access to company information until this is resolved. Don't bother coming to any family events. You're not welcome. And Carol, I always knew you were jealous of Amanda, but this is a new low. Uncle Tom, your grandmother would be ashamed of the person you've become. Cousin after cousin, relative after relative, all saying the same thing. I was a manipulator, a liar, a monster who'd taken advantage of a vulnerable old woman. I sat on my bathroom floor and sobbed, that familiar voice in my head screaming, they're right. You must have done something. You must have said something that made her think. But then I remembered Grandma Rose's face during our weekly tea visits. How sharp her eyes were. How she'd ask careful questions about Amanda, about family dynamics, about incidents I thought no one else had witnessed. How she'd always say, "You're stronger than you know, Lily. Your time is coming." She'd been planning this. 3 days after the will reading, I finally went to her house. My house now, though that felt impossible to believe. I walked through rooms filled with her presence, crying at every photograph, every piece of furniture that held a memory. In her study, I found a locked door in her desk. Taped to the top was an envelope marked "For Lily," opened first in her elegant handwriting. Inside was a small key and a note: "The truth, my darling. Everything I witnessed. Use it when you're ready." My hands shook as I unlocked the drawer. Inside were 15 leather-bound journals, stacked neatly, each labeled with years. I grabbed the most recent one and opened it. The first entry I saw made my blood run cold. Sunday dinner, March 12th, watched Amanda take $200 from Richard's wallet while he was in the garage. At dinner, Richard mentioned money was missing. Amanda suggested Lily had been there earlier in the day. Complete lie. Lily wasn't there. I was with her at the bookstore. Amanda looked him in the eye and lied, and he believed her instantly. I flipped through more pages, my heart pounding. Amanda arrived intoxicated to Easter dinner. Pupils dilated, slurred speech. When Patricia commented, Amanda blamed it on helping Lily through a crisis. Lily was with me all afternoon. No crisis. Just another lie. Found evidence Amanda has been stealing from the company. Small amounts at first, now thousands. She's covering her tracks by blaming accounting errors on Lily's suggestions. Amanda has a cocaine problem. I'm certain now. Confronted her privately. She cried, promised treatment, begged me not to tell Richard and Patricia. I agreed. She never got help. She lied to me too. Page after page, year after year. Every lie Amanda told. Every time I was blamed for something I didn't do. Every manipulation, every theft, every cruel moment, all documented in my grandmother's careful handwriting. She'd been watching. She'd been recording. She'd been building a case. And now she'd given it all to me. I sat on the floor of her study, surrounded by journals, and for the first time in my life, I knew with absolute certainty I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the problem. I'd been right all along. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother: "Last chance to do the right thing before we destroy you in court." I stared at those journals, at years of evidence, at proof of everything they'd denied. Then I smiled. They wanted to destroy me in court. Perfect. Let them try. I spent the next 2 weeks buried in Grandma Rose's journals while Mr. Chen's investigator verified every single entry. Bank records confirmed Amanda had embezzled $127,000 from the family business over 3 years. A private investigator got photographs of Amanda buying cocaine in a parking lot. Digital forensics recovered emails showing her systematic manipulations, blaming failed deals on me, covering her mistakes, lying to clients. It was all real. Every word Grandma Rose had written was backed by evidence. "What do you want to do with this?" Mr. Chen asked during one of our meetings. I looked at the mountain of evidence spread across his conference table. "I want to tell them the truth. All of it. But not in a courtroom where they can make excuses. I want them to hear it together as a family." He raised his eyebrows. "That's bold." "They've spent my entire life making me feel crazy," I said. "It's time they face reality." I sent an email to everyone: parents, Amanda, aunts, uncles, cousins who turned on me. The subject line read: "Family meeting at Rose's house, let's settle this." My mother called within an hour. "Finally coming to your senses? We'll discuss everything on Saturday," I said calmly and hung up. When Saturday came, they all showed up at Grandma Rose's house. I'd set up the living room with comfortable seating, catered food, drinks, the works. They looked confused by the hospitality. Amanda arrived in sunglasses, playing the victim perfectly. "This is very mature of you, Lily. I'm glad you're finally ready to do what's right." My mother touched my arm with fake warmth. "We can work this out as a family." That's what Rose would have wanted. 20 people filled the living room, my entire extended family, all waiting for me to surrender. I stood in front of them, holding the journals. "Thank you all for coming. Grandmother Rose left me something more valuable than money. She left me the truth." My father frowned. "What are those?" "Journals. 8 years of observations." She was documenting our family. I opened the first one. "Let me share some entries." I started reading. "The car accident Amanda blamed on me. Rose saw everything and wrote it down. The birthday they forgot Rose had reminded my mother 3 times. The job I supposedly got fired from Rose had called my principal, knew I'd quit. And Carol shifted uncomfortably. Wait, I remember the car incident. Amanda said you hit that pole. Amanda lied, I said simply. And you believed her because it was easier than questioning the golden child. I kept reading. More lies, more manipulations, more times I was blamed for Amanda's mistakes. Some relatives started whispering to each other. My father's face was getting red. Then I moved to the serious entries. Now for the part that troubled grandmother most. I projected bank statements onto the TV screen. Amanda embezzled $127,000 from Morrison Real Estate over 3 years. Here are the transfers to her personal accounts. Here are the fake vendor payments to shell companies she created. Here are emails where she authorized payments to herself. The room went silent. Amanda? My father's voice cracked. This is insane. Amanda jumped up. Lily faked all of this. She's framing me. Dad, these are your bank records, I said. Your accountant has confirmed every transaction. Mr. Chen has all the originals. My mother's voice was shrill. Why would you fabricate evidence against your own sister? What is wrong with you? I felt that old familiar shame trying to creep in, but I pushed it away. What's wrong with me? I've spent 29 years being gaslit by all of you. Grandmother Rose watched Amanda destroy me and you all helped her do it. There's more, I continued. Amanda has a cocaine addiction. I showed Rose's journal entries detailing her observations, the dilated pupils, the mood swings, the paranoia. Then I showed the private investigators photos from the past 2 weeks. Amanda at various locations, clearly intoxicated, meeting with known dealers. The evidence was damning. Amanda was panicking now. You had me followed? You're absolutely insane. No, Amanda, I said, my voice steady. I'm done being your scapegoat. My cousin Jake looked sick. Is this real? And Carol turned to my mother. Patricia, did you know about any of this? She's manipulating all of you, my mother screamed. This is what she does. Can't you see? Actually, I said, there's one more thing. Grandmother recorded our family dinners for the past year. I played the audio clips. Amanda admitting to my mother that she blamed me for something she did. Mom, obviously it was me. But Lily's an easier target. My father telling Patricia I know Amanda messed up the account, but we'll just blame it on Lily's suggestions. And worst of all, Amanda on the phone, laughing. Lily's so pathetic. She actually thinks we care about her. The room erupted. Everyone was yelling at once. Uncle Tom confronted my father. You knew she was stealing? And Carol looked at me with tears in her eyes. Lily, we've been horrible to you because of their lies. My mother tried to take control. Everyone calm down. This is exactly what Lily wants, to tear this family apart. I raised my voice. No, Mom. You tore this family apart 29 years ago when you decided one daughter was worth loving and the other wasn't. Grandmother Rose just documented it. I turned to Amanda. You have until tomorrow to turn yourself in for embezzlement. If you don't, I'm filing a police report with all this evidence. Please, Amanda was actually crying real tears now. I'll get help, I'll pay it back. You should have gotten help years ago. You should have told the truth any of the 1,000 times you destroyed me. I looked at my parents. As for you two, I'm using my 30% share to call for an external audit of the entire company. Every questionable transaction, every covered-up mistake. All of it. You'll destroy the business, my father shouted. No, I'll expose your corruption. There's a difference. I grabbed my purse and walked toward the door. My mother's voice stopped me. If you do this, you'll have no family. I turned and looked at her. Really looked at her. I haven't had a family in years, Mom. I just didn't realize it until Grandmother Rose showed me. I left my own house, leaving them to turn on each other. 2 months later, Amanda turned herself in after I filed the police report. She's facing 3 to 5 years for embezzlement and enrolled in court-mandated rehab. The extended family has completely ostracized her. My father was forced to step down as CEO after the audit revealed he'd been covering up Amanda's theft. My parents' marriage is falling apart. They spend their time blaming each other instead of taking responsibility. Most relatives I blocked. And Carol sent a genuine apology, and we're slowly rebuilding our relationship. The others can stay in the past where they belong. As for me, I sold Grandma Rose's house. Too many painful memories mixed with the good ones. I used the inheritance to pay off my student loans, buy a cozy home with a garden, and start a scholarship fund in Rose's name for students from difficult family situations. I'm still teaching, but now I also volunteer with family abuse survivors. I'm in therapy, finally healing from decades of trauma. And Emma, turns out there was always something more between us. We're taking it slow, but I'm happier than I've ever been. I keep Rose's journals in a safe deposit box, a reminder that I was never crazy. I was never the problem. Yesterday, I planted roses in my garden. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother. I didn't even look at it. I just deleted her contact and smiled at the flowers. I found Grandma Rose's last journal entry last week. My darling Lily, by the time you read this, you'll know the truth. You were never the problem. You were always the solution. You stayed kind despite everything. That's not weakness, that's strength. Build your life, sweetheart. Make it beautiful. Make it yours. And remember, the best revenge is living well. I love you forever. Grandma Rose, she was right. The best revenge isn't destroying them, it's finally being free. They spent 29 years making me the villain of their story. Turns out, Grandma Rose was writing the truth the whole time. And now, I'm writing my own story and they're not in it. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been the family scapegoat? How did you break free? I'd love to hear your stories. Remember, you're not alone, and you're definitely not crazy. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't your real family, and that's okay. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.